Have you ever noticed how some people seem to fade after 70, while others continue to thrive, staying vibrant and full of life? It's easy to believe the hardest battles are behind us, that we've already made our biggest mistakes. But is that really true? The truth is, many older adults unknowingly make choices that slowly chip away at their joy, freedom, and dignity. And by the time they realize it, the damage can be nearly impossible to undo. In this video, we'll walk through 12 of the most common yet overlooked habits that can quietly ruin your life after 70. These aren't just simple mistakes, they're traps. Each one can erode your independence, strain your relationships, or rob you of the peace you've spent a lifetime working for. You'll discover why these behaviors are so dangerous, how they show up in everyday life, and the subtle warning signs that they might be creeping into your own routine. Most importantly, you'll learn how to protect yourself before they steal the best years you still have ahead. Stay with me until the very end, because the last few signs may truly surprise you. They're not the things most people think about, but if left unchecked, they can quietly cause the most harm. Knowing them now could be the key to preserving your independence and happiness for years to come. Number 1. Neglecting your physical health. One of the quickest ways to lose your independence after 70 is by letting your physical health slip. It doesn't happen overnight. Instead, it's the result of small, repeated choices, like skipping that short daily walk, relying too often on processed foods, or ignoring that new stiffness in your back that wasn't there last month. Over time, these seemingly minor decisions snowball into serious consequences, making it harder to stay active, independent, and in control of your own life. Your legs start to weaken, your balance becomes less steady, and before long, even simple tasks, like climbing a set of stairs or getting out of bed, begin to feel like uphill battles. Yes, the body naturally slows down with age, but that doesn't mean you're supposed to simply surrender to decline. Many older adults accept aches, stiffness, and fatigue as just part of getting older. But here's the truth. Most of what we label as aging is actually the result of disuse. The muscles and joints you don't move begin to stiffen. The more you sit, the harder it becomes to stand. And if you go long enough without regular movement, your body starts to forget how to support you. I remember a man named Charles, 78 years old, who was once bursting with energy. He loved fishing, tinkering with his car every Saturday, and even dancing with his wife in the kitchen. But after a minor surgery, he slowed down, telling himself he was just recovering. Weeks turned into months, and his strength quietly slipped away. It wasn't the surgery that stole his freedom, it was inactivity. When he finally decided to get moving again, even a walk around the block felt like climbing a mountain. It doesn't have to be this way. A short daily walk, a few stretches in the morning, or even standing up during TV commercials can make a huge difference. What matters most is consistency, not intensity. Your body doesn't demand perfection, it simply needs movement. Choosing to stay physically active, even in small ways, means choosing independence, self-confidence, and the ability to live life on your own terms. And remember, caring for your body isn't just about avoiding weakness. It's about declaring to yourself and to the world that you still have purpose, and you still have things to do. Number 2. Letting your social circle disappear. Losing physical health is one challenge, but losing your connection to people can drain your spirit faster than any illness. After 70, it's easy to start pulling away. Friends move to new places, some pass away, and daily routines shift. Before you realize it, entire weeks can pass without a single deep, meaningful conversation. What many people don't realize is that loneliness isn't just emotionally painful, it's physically dangerous. Research shows that social isolation in older adults is linked to a higher risk of serious health problems, from heart disease to cognitive decline. From heart disease to cognitive decline, the brain, just like the body, needs regular stimulation. And when you stop using your social muscles by chatting, laughing, and truly listening, they begin to weaken. Conversations aren't just small talk. They sharpen your thinking, remind you of who you are, and give your days rhythm, purpose, and color. Without them, time feels heavier, slower, and far more hollow. I once knew a woman named Linda. She was 81, living alone after her husband passed, with no close family nearby. She was sharp as a tack, quick-witted, and full of personality. But slowly, she began to retreat into her home. "I just don't feel like going out anymore," she would say. First, she skipped her beloved book club. Then, she stopped attending her church group. Eventually, she even stopped answering the phone. Within a year, Linda had changed. She went from lively and engaged to foggy and withdrawn, not because her mind failed her, but because her world had become too quiet. That silence slowly drained her spark. Rebuilding or maintaining a social life after 70 takes intention and effort, but it's worth every bit of energy. Call an old friend you haven't spoken to in years. Join a local community group. Greet your neighbor, even if you're not sure what to say. It's not about filling every moment on your calendar. It's about staying human. Being around others reminds you that you belong, that you're still part of the living, breathing world, and that you are far more than just your age. So, if your phone hasn't rung in a while, don't wait for someone else to make the first move. Reach out, let someone know they're on your mind. Because staying socially connected isn't just a pleasant extra, it's a form of medicine, one that can add years to your life and life to your years. Number 3, holding on to resentment. There's a heaviness that comes from carrying the past into your later years. Old grudges, unresolved arguments, bitterness that was never spoken aloud, but has always been simmering beneath the surface. Many people believe they've moved on simply because they don't talk about it anymore. But the truth is, resentment has a way of settling deep into the bones. And after 70, when time feels more precious than ever, that weight can quietly erode your joy, strain your relationships, and steal your peace. Resentment doesn't just affect your mood. It leaves a mark on your health, your connections, and the way you see the world. It shapes the way you see the world. It makes you suspicious of kindness, questioning motives when there's no reason to. It keeps your guard up at moments when you should be letting people in. It has the power to turn good moments sour before they even have a chance to blossom. You begin to assume that others are bound to disappoint you, that no one truly understands, and that nothing can ever be made right. And here's the saddest part. It's often not the other person who suffers most. It's you. I remember sitting across from a man named Edward. He was 84 years old, with 4 grown children, yet he hadn't spoken to his eldest son in 12 years. "He didn't show up when I needed him," Edward said firmly, "and I'm not the one who needs to apologize." But as our conversation unfolded, it became clear. Edward wasn't protecting his pride. He was protecting his pain. That pain had built a wall, shutting out the very people who still cared for him. With tears in his eyes, he admitted he couldn't even remember exactly what had sparked the rift, only that the silence had become louder than the original hurt. Forgiveness doesn't mean saying what happened was acceptable. It means choosing to set the pain down so you can move forward. It's about freeing yourself, not necessarily the other person. And at this stage of life, peace is not something you can afford to postpone. The clock keeps ticking whether you forgive or not. Wouldn't it be better to use that time to build new memories instead of replaying old wounds? If you're holding on to something, or someone, ask yourself, is this helping me, or is it holding me back? You don't have to forget, but you do deserve the freedom that comes from letting go. Even releasing just a little of that weight can make room in your heart for better things: connection, understanding, and maybe even healing. Number 4. Refusing to ask for help. There's a quiet kind of pride that many older adults carry, a pride born from decades of strength, self-reliance, and resilience. But over time, that very pride can slowly turn into a trap. After 70, refusing to ask for help isn't just stubbornness, it can become dangerous. Whether it's related to your health, your home, or even your emotions, keeping everything to yourself might feel like protecting your dignity. But more often, it leads to unnecessary struggle and deeper isolation. Many of us were raised to believe that asking for help is a sign of weakness. In reality, it takes great wisdom and courage to recognize when support is needed. Pride often whispers, "You've handled life this far. Don't start leaning on others now." But more often than not, that voice comes from fear. Fear of being a burden, fear of losing independence, fear of admitting vulnerability, fear of looking vulnerable, fear of becoming a burden, fear of admitting that things are changing. These feelings are common, but here's the truth. Not asking for help doesn't make you stronger. It only makes the consequences heavier when they eventually arrive. Take the case of Harold, a 76-year-old widower living alone after his wife passed. He began having trouble climbing the stairs, but he kept it to himself, not wanting to bother anyone. One afternoon, he slipped and fell, fracturing his hip. When his daughter asked why he never said anything, his reply was simple: "I didn't want to be a problem." What Harold didn't understand was that the people who love us don't see us as problems. They see us as family. Asking for help isn't a burden, it's an invitation to stay connected. And help comes in many forms: physical, emotional, even practical. It might mean having someone check your medications, fix a loose railing, carry groceries, or simply sit with you and listen when you need to talk. Every time you reach out for help, you're not giving something up. You're giving others the chance to show they care. There's something else, too. When you ask for help, you're modeling strength, not weakness. You're showing others, especially younger generations, that it's okay to be human. Life was never meant to be carried entirely alone. Interdependence can be just as noble as independence. So, if you've been quietly struggling, telling yourself, "I'll figure it out on my own," take a moment to ask, what if I didn't have to? What if receiving support was part of living well, not a sign of giving up? Because the truth is, accepting help when it's needed doesn't diminish your dignity, it protects it. Number 5, over-relying on medications. As we grow older, it's natural for prescriptions to start piling up. Blood pressure pills, cholesterol medications, sleep aids, pain relievers. The list can grow quickly. But leaning too heavily on medication to manage every ache, pain, or discomfort can quietly become its own problem. Many older adults start taking pills almost automatically, like they're candy, often without asking what they're really for, whether they're still necessary, or how they might interact with each other. This silent routine can slowly chip away at your mental clarity, your energy, and your overall quality of life. To be clear, medicine saves lives. It can be a critical tool for managing health, but it can also mask the real causes of symptoms, giving the illusion of stability while your actual health quietly declines in the background. Feeling tired? There's a pill for that. Trouble sleeping? Another pill. Mild pain? Here's one more. But here's the question we must ask. Are we treating the cause, or are we only covering it up? Covering it up with pills can seem easier in the moment, but the cost often comes later. I remember speaking with a man named Frank, age 82. At one point, he was taking nearly a dozen different medications every single day. He couldn't even remember what half of them were for. Some were meant to treat his original issues, while others were just there to manage the side effects caused by the first set of pills. Over time, Frank began to notice changes. His hands developed a constant tremor, his memory became cloudy, and he no longer felt fully present in his own life. He described it as feeling like a shadow of the man he used to be. Eventually, a new doctor reviewed his prescriptions in detail and helped him safely reduce them. Within just a few weeks, Frank felt more alert, steadier on his feet, and clearer in thought than he had in years. It turned out it wasn't age that was making him foggy. It was over-medication. This isn't about throwing away your prescriptions. It's about staying informed, staying involved, and asking the right questions. What is this for? Do I still need it? Is there a non-drug alternative? Could lifestyle changes reduce my reliance on this? These aren't rebellious questions. They're responsible ones. You have every right to know exactly what's going into your body and how it's affecting you. And remember, your body changes with age. The way you process medication at 75 is not the same as it was at 45. A dose that was once helpful might now be too strong or even harmful. That's why regular medication reviews with your doctor or pharmacist are so important. Sometimes the healthiest step forward isn't adding another pill, it's removing the ones you no longer need. You don't have to be against medicine to be careful with it. You simply need to remember that prescriptions should support your life, not define it. The more in tune you are with what you truly need, the more likely you are to feel like yourself again, sharp, steady, and fully in control. Number 6. Living in a home that no longer suits your needs. Most people never imagine their house could become a danger zone, but after 70, the very place that once felt safest can slowly turn into a silent threat. That second-floor bedroom you've climbed to for decades, the steep front steps you've navigated without thinking, the dim hallway you've walked through 1,000 times, these can all become hazards as your body changes. When your home doesn't adapt with you, the risks don't just increase, they multiply. And it's not only about dramatic accidents like falls, though those are unfortunately far too common. It's also about the subtle ways your home can start to work against you. The bathroom with no grab bars, the slippery floors, the poor lighting that makes nighttime trips dangerous, kitchen cabinets that require stretching or climbing, rugs that once looked cozy but now catch your foot just enough to throw you off balance. These may seem like small, harmless details, but as we get older, small details can have big consequences. Let me tell you about Eleanor. She was 79, had lived in the same home for over 40 years, and loved it dearly. But the staircase had become more difficult, and her laundry room was tucked away in the basement. She insisted on doing everything herself. "This is my house," she'd say firmly. "I'm not leaving." One day, while heading downstairs, she missed a step and fell, breaking her wrist. The physical injury took months to heal, but the loss of confidence lasted much longer. She began hesitating, second-guessing herself, and pulling back from activities she had once enjoyed without a thought. That fall didn't just injure her wrist, it quietly stole a piece of her freedom. The truth is, holding on to a familiar space can sometimes come at the cost of your safety, your energy, and your peace of mind. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to move. It may simply mean making smart adjustments, adding brighter lighting, removing trip hazards, moving your bedroom to the first floor, or installing handrails and grips in key areas. These changes don't signal weakness. They show foresight. They send a message: I'm planning to live well, right where I am. And if your home truly can't be adapted to meet your changing needs, it may be time to consider another space, one that supports your independence instead of quietly undermining it. That decision isn't about giving up. It's about choosing freedom over friction, ease over nostalgia, and safety over sentiment. Your home should help you live, not slowly chip away at your ability to do so. Take a moment to walk through your space, not with the eyes of who you were 30 years ago, but with the wisdom of who you are today. What could be adjusted? What could make life smoother, safer, and more comfortable? You've earned comfort. You've earned security. Don't let loyalty to a building cost you the life you're still meant to enjoy. Number 7. Not adapting to financial changes. Money doesn't retire just because you do. In fact, after 70, the way you manage your finances can quietly shape your entire quality of life, for better or worse. And here's the surprising part. The danger isn't always in having too little. Sometimes it's in failing to adapt. Old spending habits, outdated budgets, or blind spots in planning can slowly steer you towards stress, debt, or even dependence, often without you realizing it until the situation feels out of control. You've probably heard someone say, "I've always managed just fine." But here's the truth. What worked at 50 may not work at 75. The rhythm of your expenses changes. Healthcare costs rise. Income sources shift from regular paychecks to fixed funds like pensions or retirement accounts. And yet, many people never stop to reevaluate. They keep spending as if nothing has changed, ignoring the quiet drip of expenses that can add up faster than expected. I remember a gentleman named Ronald, 74, who had always taken pride in being frugal. But he hadn't reviewed his finances since his wife passed away. Without realizing it, he continued paying for insurance policies they no longer needed, subscribing to services he didn't use, and donating to every charity that sent him a letter. One day, he noticed his savings shrinking faster than he had planned. Not because he was careless, but because he hadn't adapted. Your later years should feel lighter, not more stressful. That means taking the time to review your spending, checking for leaks in your budget, and, this is critical, letting go of any guilt about money. Many seniors feel uneasy about spending on themselves or even discussing finances with their children, but avoiding the conversation can do far more harm than facing it openly. Don't hesitate to seek help reviewing your financial situation, whether from a trusted family member, a financial advisor, or someone at your bank. They can help you spot risks, avoid scams, and make smart adjustments. Sometimes, even a few simple steps, like consolidating accounts, canceling unnecessary subscriptions, or creating a realistic spending plan, can restore a powerful sense of control. And if your finances include supporting adult children or grandchildren, be mindful. Generosity is a beautiful thing, but it should never come at the cost of your own peace of mind. You've worked hard, built your savings, and given generously. Now is the time to protect what you have and use it to support your own well-being. Financial freedom in your 70s isn't just about having money. It's about making sure it works for you so you can live with security, dignity, and confidence. Financial freedom in your later years isn't just about having money. It's about having clarity, confidence, and the ability to make choices without fear. When you adapt wisely, you give yourself the best possible chance to enjoy these years with calm, stability, and peace of mind. And that, my friend, is worth every single penny. Number 8. Living with people who drain your spirit. One of the most overlooked things that can quietly ruin your later years isn't illness, injury, or even financial trouble. It's the people you share your space with. After 70, your environment matters more than ever. And that doesn't just mean the physical walls around you. It includes the emotional climate you live in every day. Sharing a home with someone who constantly criticizes, controls, or creates tension can wear you down in ways you may not even notice at first. You might tell yourself, "I'm just keeping the peace," or "It's family, I have to endure it." But here's the truth. No matter who it is, an adult child, a grandchild, a sibling, or even a spouse, if being around them makes you feel small, anxious, or invisible, it's not just an emotional issue. It's a serious threat to your overall health. Emotional stress can affect far more than your mood. It can disrupt your sleep, change your appetite, raise your blood pressure, and even weaken your immune system. And when that stress comes from someone you live with, there's no real escape. It becomes a low, constant hum in the background of your life. You wake up already tense. You hesitate before speaking freely. You stop inviting friends over. And little by little, you lose pieces of yourself. I once met a woman named Joyce, age 75, who moved in with her daughter's family after her husband passed away. At first, it seemed like the perfect arrangement, but over time, things changed. Joyce began to feel more like unpaid help than a welcomed guest. She cooked, cleaned, and babysat, but had no say in how the household was run. Her son-in-law was distant and cold. Her grandchildren rarely acknowledged her. And although her daughter was kind, she often brushed aside Joyce's feelings with a quick, "Mom, just go with the flow." Joyce never openly complained, but her spark slowly dimmed. She stopped reading, lost weight, and eventually began having panic attacks. It wasn't her age that was wearing her down. It was her environment. Protecting your emotional space is every bit as important as protecting your physical health. This isn't about being selfish, it's about being self-aware. If your living situation is draining you, you have the right to speak up, the right to set boundaries, and yes, the right to leave if necessary. These years should be filled with peace, not pressure, joy, not judgment. Because if you're walking on eggshells in your own home, that's not truly a home. It's a place that's taking more from you than it gives. A toxic living situation is a trap, and you don't need to justify your discomfort to anyone. Your feelings alone are reason enough. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can say is, "This isn't working for me." Whether that leads to a deeper conversation, a healthier agreement, or even the decision to move somewhere new, reclaiming your peace is never a mistake. You have earned the right to feel safe, respected, and at ease in the place where you rest your head at night. Don't let anyone, no matter how close, take that away from you. Number 9. Staying mentally stagnant. After a certain age, many people quietly stop challenging their minds. The books on the shelf remain unopened. The hobbies that once brought joy slowly fade away. Conversations become shorter, more predictable, and stuck in routine. It's not always because interest is gone. It's often because they've convinced themselves it no longer matters. "I'm too old for all that," they say. But the truth is, your brain needs stimulation just as much as your body does. And when it doesn't get it, it begins to shrink, gradually, silently, and sometimes permanently. Mental stagnation isn't just about forgetting things. It's about losing your curiosity, your desire to ask questions, and your excitement to learn or try something new. Without those, life begins to flatten. The days blur together, confidence fades, and worst of all, you start to believe the dangerous lie that nothing exciting is left. I remember meeting a man named Gerald, 80 years old, who had been a passionate science teacher for decades. But after retiring, he stopped reading, stopped discussing ideas, and stopped exploring. "That part of life is over," he told me. And slowly, he began to fade. Not physically, but mentally. His world shrank to just a few television shows and the same recycled conversations. Then one day, someone handed him a book about astronomy. His eyes lit up. "I used to love this stuff," he whispered. Within weeks, he had joined a small online discussion group and started writing again. Not because anyone told him to, but because the door to learning had never been closed. He had simply forgotten it was still there. Learning doesn't have to mean going back to school or taking on formal studies. It can be as simple as watching a thought-provoking documentary, trying a new recipe, picking up a crossword puzzle, or asking your grandson to show you how to use a new app. The goal isn't to become an expert, it's to keep yourself awake and alive inside. Every new thing you try is like a breath of fresh air for your mind, keeping it vibrant, sharp, and ready for the life you still have ahead. Your brain thrives on challenge, and you shouldn't let technology intimidate you. Many seniors shy away from new tools or devices out of fear they'll make a mistake. But there's nothing shameful about being new to something. In fact, stepping into the role of a beginner again is one of the healthiest exercises you can give your mind. It builds patience, adaptability, and confidence, 3 qualities we all need, no matter our age. So if your days have started to feel too quiet, too repetitive, or too passive, take it as a gentle signal. Your mind is asking for more. Feed that curiosity, because a curious mind stays young no matter what the calendar says. Number 10, ignoring your purpose. When the job ends, the kids are grown, and the pace of life slows, many people are left with a quiet, unsettling question. What now? After 70, the real danger isn't just boredom. It's drifting through your days without a sense of direction. Even the most peaceful days can begin to feel empty if they lack meaning. Hours pass, but they don't feel truly lived. And that emptiness doesn't just affect your mood, it slowly wears away at your spirit. Purpose isn't about grand achievements or world-changing projects. It's not about starting a business or saving the planet. Purpose can be simple. It's about having a reason to get out of bed each morning. It's about finding something that shapes your days and fills them with meaning. It could be tending to your garden, calling a friend who needs a listening ear, teaching your grandchild a skill, or simply being the person in your circle who always shows up with warmth and a smile. I knew a woman named Bernice, 77, who had retired from her job at the post office. At first, she loved the freedom. Finally, she could rest. But after that first year, something shifted. She began sleeping later, watching more TV, and avoiding at her social groups. "I don't really do much anymore," she admitted, and you could see it. Her eyes had lost their spark. Then one of her neighbors invited her to teach a weekly knitting class at the local library. At first, she hesitated. "Why would anyone want to learn from me?" She wondered, but she decided to try. Within just a few weeks, her whole posture changed. She carried herself differently. She smiled more. She had purpose again. Purpose doesn't have to be flashy or loud to be powerful. It only has to be genuine. It doesn't need to be visible to everyone around you. It just has to be real to you. Maybe it's telling a story that inspires someone, comforting a friend who's struggling, or caring for a pet that depends on you. The point is simple. You matter. Your presence, your voice, your energy, they still carry weight. And when you stop believing that, you begin to shrink in your own eyes. It's never too late to ask yourself, what am I here for today? Not this year, not this decade, just today. Purpose is built from small acts, done with heart, repeated over time. When you choose to live as though you matter, you start to feel like you matter. And that, my friend, can change everything. Number 11. Chasing youth instead of embracing age. There's a big difference between being young at heart and trying to pretend you're still 35. After 70, some people fall into the trap of chasing youth, pouring time, money, and energy into looking younger, acting younger, or avoiding anything that reminds them of their real age. While taking pride in your appearance is healthy, constantly fighting against time can quietly drain your joy, self-worth, and peace of mind. Trying to stay young at all cost often leads to endless comparison. You start measuring yourself against the person you used to be, or against others who seem to be aging better. This mindset turns every wrinkle into a failure, every ache into a flaw, and every gray hair into something to hide. It's exhausting, and it never ends. No matter how hard you try, the clock keeps moving, and if your happiness depends on staying the same, you will never truly feel like you're enough. I once knew a man named Dennis, 73, who spent a small fortune on anti-aging treatments, hair dyes, expensive skin creams, even experimental injections. He told me it made him feel in control, but underneath it all, he was terrified of being seen as old. That fear led him to avoid people his own age, skip events where he might feel too old, and little by little, he began isolating himself. His life grew smaller, not because of his age, but because of the energy he spent trying to deny it. But aging, when embraced, can be deeply beautiful. There's a calm, a confidence, and a richness that only come with time. The way you carry yourself, the stories you've lived, the wisdom behind your words, these are not things to be hidden. They are treasures meant to be shared. Letting go of the race to stay young doesn't mean giving up. It means allowing yourself to simply be. It's about caring for your body because you appreciate it, not because you resent the way it's changing. It's about dressing in a way that feels right for you, not to impress people whose opinions don't truly matter. It's about viewing your years as a gift, not as a burden. You don't need to chase the past to live a full, vibrant life today. In fact, the more peace you make with where you are right now, the more open you become to joy, love, and purpose, all the things that never age. Number 12. Avoiding conversations about death. For many, the topic of death feels like a door best kept shut. After 70, it's not unusual to avoid the subject entirely, whether out of fear, discomfort, or the quiet hope that ignoring it might somehow keep it far away. But the truth is, avoiding the conversation doesn't protect you. It only leaves you, and the people you love, unprepared for one of life's most certain realities. When we don't face the idea of death, important decisions get delayed. Wills remain unwritten. Final wishes stay unspoken. Emotional closure never has a chance to happen. This kind of avoidance can lead to confusion, stress, and even conflict later, for your family, your caregivers, and sometimes for you. I once spoke with a woman named Carol, 82, whose husband passed away suddenly. We had always avoided the topic. We thought we had more time, she said. As a result, she had no idea what he wanted for his care, his burial, or even how to handle his belongings. The grief was already heavy, but the uncertainty made it even harder. "I just wish we'd talked," she whispered. "Even once. Talking about death doesn't invite it in. It frees you to live more fully. When you've expressed what needs to be said, made choices that reflect your values, and given your loved ones clear guidance, there's a deep sense of peace. You're no longer living in quiet fear. You're living with intention. These conversations don't have to be grim. They can be rooted in love. Ask yourself, what do I want people to remember about me? How do I want my story to be told? What brings me comfort? Who should make decisions if I can't? These aren't frightening questions. They're sacred ones. And here's something most people don't realize. Talking about death often deepens your appreciation for life. It reminds you to say "I love you" more often, to forgive more quickly, and to savor the time you have left. It's not about preparing to die. It's about deciding how you want to live until that moment comes, with clarity, grace, and connection. You don't need to have all the answers immediately. All it takes is one conversation, one letter, one step toward peace. Because when you stop fearing the end, you make more room for the richness of everything in between. As we come to the end of this video, take a moment to truly reflect on the 12 things we've talked about today. Which one resonated with you the most? Was there a habit you've noticed quietly creeping into your life? Or perhaps something you've been carrying for far too long, that deep down, you know it's finally time to release? The truth is, life after 70 can be incredibly rich, deeply meaningful, and profoundly fulfilling, but only if we stay alert to the things that can quietly steal that from us. Some of the greatest threats we face at this stage of life aren't loud or obvious. They're subtle, easy to overlook, and easy to dismiss. That's why simply noticing them is such a powerful step. Once you see them clearly, you have the ability to choose differently. So, which of these changes will you start with today? You don't need to tackle all 12 at once. Begin with just one. One choice, one shift, one small decision to honor yourself and protect the life you still have ahead. Because it is never too late to rewrite the story of how you live. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and share the one insight that stood out to you and how you plan to bring it into your daily life. Your thoughts matter, and your experiences inspire not just us, but everyone in this community. Reading your comments gives us both motivation and encouragement to keep creating content that makes a difference. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others. Your support allows us to continue making valuable, uplifting content to inform, inspire, and empower. Wishing you good health, lasting happiness, and peace in every day ahead, and remember to subscribe to my channel so we can continue this journey together.